Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Traveling with Glenn. My name is Glenn Davis. I am pleased to be your host for Life in the Slow Lane, a look at New England's covered bridges, past and present. The color pictures that you will see were taken by me, the great majority of them, while on solo bicycle tours. So, let's go bridging. We'll continue our tour of New England's covered bridges in Massachusetts. Bissell Bridge, built in 1951 in Charlemont, spans Mill Brook. The Arthur A. Smith Bridge, built in 1896 in Lyonsville, spans North River. This is a great example of a bridge which has suffered serious neglect. The Pumping Station Bridge, built in 1870 in Greenfield, spans the Green River. Note the rope swing under the bridge. This is a great place for a swim on a hot summer day. A bizarre incident occurred near North Adams on the Pittsfield and North Adams Railroad. Pulling around a short curve into a dark span south of Cheshire Harbor, a Pittsfield and North Adams train plowed through a large family of skunks. The engineer made the mistake of stopping. Passengers, curious as to what had caused the sudden halt, jumped off the train in the darkened bridge amid half a dozen injured and infuriated skunks. That train ride was one that passengers, crew, and the skunks never forgot. Gilbertville Bridge, built in 1886, spans the Ware River. More than 100 covered bridges were built in Massachusetts. Now, about 7 remain. 8 covered bridges span the Connecticut River in Massachusetts, including Springfield Bridge, which stood from 1820 to 1922 before being removed. Northampton's covered bridge was destroyed by a tornado in June 1877. The storm lifted the entire 1,000-foot structure off its abutments and dropped it into the Connecticut River. We'll continue our tour of New England's covered bridges in Rhode Island. Rhode Island has but one covered bridge, which is relatively new. The last historic covered bridge in Rhode Island was called Hamlet, a New Haven Railroad bridge in Woonsocket, which was washed away in the 1955 flood caused by Hurricane Diane. And we'll continue our tour of New England's covered bridges in Maine. Porter Parsonfield Bridge, built in 1858, spans the Ossipee River. More than 120 covered bridges were built in Maine. Only 10 remain. Maine had a unique covered bridge built for trolleys only. Hemlock Bridge, built in 1857 in East Freiburg. While planning my trip, I had thought to camp near the bridge as it is in an isolated place at the end of a dirt road. My plans changed instantly as I was beset by what seemed like billions of mosquitoes. After putting on mosquito repellent, long pants, and a light jacket, I took several pictures and got out of there as quickly as possible. So much for plans. This bridge is called Sunday River, and it's also called Artist Bridge. It was built in 1872 in the town of Newry. The bridge is one of the most photographed and painted in New England. It is the scene of many weddings. Maine had an international covered bridge which spanned the St. Croix River from Calais to St. Stephen, New Brunswick. Jumbo, the famous elephant and biggest drawing card of P.T. Barnum's Greatest Show on Earth, came to play St. Stephen and its American neighbor. The story goes that Jumbo entered the gloomy cavern of the bridge, testing it gingerly with his huge feet. Then he led the whole parade of other ponderous pachyderms, as Barnum called them, circus performers, wagons with caged lions and tigers, and the brassy steam calliope through the bridge for a triumphant entry into Calais. The customs men on the Maine side did not attempt to make the elephants open their trunks. We'll continue our tour of New England's covered bridges in Vermont. We're looking at Green River Bridge, built in 1870. It is the only bridge in the state to house both private mailboxes and an official U.S. mailbox. This is the West Dummerston Bridge, built in 1872, spanning the West River. Creamery Bridge was built in 1879 in Brattleboro. It is the only bridge in Vermont with a slate roof. Time was when an old Civil War pensioner from Newfane celebrated a bit too much in Brattleboro one Saturday night. Sometime in the early Sunday hours, a farmer south of Newfane was awakened by a racket in his buggy shed, which stood parallel to the road. Pulling on pants and boots, the farmer took his lantern and went to investigate. There was a horse and wagon jammed tightly into the shed. The pensioner sat disconsolately, his legs hanging over the tailgate and his eyes blinking at the light thrust in his face. "All I want to know," he said, "is who in hell boarded up the end of this bridge?" Williamsville Bridge, built around 1870 in the town of Newfane, spans Rock River. In the 1890s, the English author Rudyard Kipling and his wife lived near Dummerston Village, where Kipling wrote Captains Courageous and the stories that became the Jungle Book. The Kiplings might have crossed this bridge on a regular basis. Henry Bridge, built around 1840 and rebuilt in 1989, is in North Bennington and spans the Walloomsac River. Scott Bridge, built in 1870 in Townsend, spans the West River. The Bridge at the Green, built in 1852 in West Arlington, spans Batten Kill. This is a popular place to go tubing and to fish. The Chiselville Bridge was built in 1870 in Sunderland and spans the Roaring Branch of the Batten Kill. This is the second covered bridge at this site. The first was washed away in the flood of 1869. The present bridge, built a much safer 40 feet above the stream, has been known to cause episodes of vertigo. Bartonsville Bridge was built in 1870 and spans the Williams River. More than 500 covered bridges were built in Vermont. Just over 100 remain. About 200 covered bridges were destroyed in 48 hours during the flood of November 1927. Downers Bridge was built around 1840 and spans the north branch of the Black River. The builder of this bridge took great pride in his work by fashioning portals in the Greek Revival mode, including partial cornice returns and splined pilaster moldings. The dry stone masonry of the abutments is the finest in the state. Sayers Bridge in Thetford spans the Ompompanoosuc River. This attractive setting is a nice place to stop for lunch. Take a close look at this picture. Now, take a close look at this picture. Are they two pictures of the same bridge or different bridges? Either answer is correct, because this is Smith Bridge at Brownsville, and this is Smith Bridge at Pomfret. Years ago, they were one and the same bridge, called Garfield Bridge, which was built in the 1870s. Eventually, Garfield Bridge was cut in half and fashioned into the two bridges which we've just seen. It was said of the town lattice truss that it can be built by the mile and sold by the yard. Willard Bridge, built around 1919 in North Heartland, spans the Ottauquechee River. This is Willard Twin Bridge, built in 2001, and it too spans the Ottauquechee River. Note Willard Bridge, which we just saw, is in the background. This is one of two places in Vermont where two covered bridges can be viewed at once. For the fun of it, I like to call these bridges Willard and Son of Willard. This is Lincoln Bridge, built in 1865 in Woodstock, and it spans the Ottauquechee River. Taftsville Bridge, built in 1836, is in Woodstock, and it too spans the Ottauquechee River. Yesteryear, when someone entered a warm house on a cold day and left the door open, that person would be admonished with, "Hey, it's cold outside. Were you brought up in a covered bridge?" And this is another look at Taftsville Bridge. Hammond Bridge, built in 1842 in Pittsford, spans Otter Creek. And Cooley Bridge also is located in Pittsford. And Gorham Bridge connects the towns of Pittsford and Proctor, and it too spans Otter Creek. Sanderson Bridge is located in the town of Brandon. Notice the Greek Revival portal with partial cornice returns and splined pilaster moldings, similar to Downers Bridge, which we saw a few moments ago. Halpin Bridge was built in 1824 in Middlebury and crosses 41 feet above the muddy branch of the New Haven River, the highest Any Vermont covered bridge rests above a stream bed. Pulp Mill Bridge, built in 1820 in Middlebury, spans Otter Creek. This is an example of a double-barreled or shotgun bridge because the two lanes are separated by a center divider. It is the only bridge of its kind in Vermont which still carries daily traffic. Pulp Mill Bridge is similar in design to the old Hartford Bridge in that both are double-barreled bridges. Salisbury Station Bridge, or as it is also known, Cedar Swamp Bridge, was built in 1865 and connects the towns of Salisbury and Cornwall and spans Otter Creek. This bridge was destroyed by fire on September 10, 2016. Big Eddy Bridge, built in 1833 in Waitsfield, spans the Mad River. The Slaughterhouse Bridge in Northfield spans the Dog River. The Upper Cox Brook Bridge, also in Northfield, spans Cox Brook. Station Bridge with Newell Bridge in the background. Northfield is one of two places in Vermont where two covered bridges can be viewed at once. This bridge is called Gold Brook Bridge. It was built in 1844 in Stowe. In 1857, Captain Slayton discovered some flecks of gold in the brook. He purchased the land from the farmer and hired a few men to pan for gold. The venture did not pay off, but the captain was able to make a watch chain worth about $118.57. Also known as Emily's Bridge, legend has it that in the middle 1800s, Emily, a farmer's daughter, was deserted by her lover. Despairing, and sadly in a family way, she hanged herself in the bridge. Emily's ghost is sometimes seen wandering through the bridge on moonlit midsummer nights, waiting for her man. This is Westford Bridge, which spans Browns River. On July 20th and 21st, 2001, I had the rare pleasure to watch a covered bridge moved into place. Westford Bridge, a fixture in the community since 1838, had been bypassed in 1965 by the concrete bridge on which the truck is parked. The old bridge had deteriorated so badly that in 1987 it was removed from its abutments and moved to the town garage where it spent 14 years awaiting funding and rehabilitation. Finally, the great day arrived. The object of these movers is to get that bridge off the flatbed truck and move it sideways to your left. If you see that parked car in the foreground, that covered bridge has got to be moved to its abutments, which are in front of that car. So the first job, after getting the bridge out from under the truck by first jacking it up, then they had to lower the bridge onto highway I-beams because they are going to roll the bridge across the I-beams. And here they are getting the I-beams in place and then leveling them. Those red objects in the foreground are house rollers, and that's what the bridge is going to roll on on top of the I-beams. And there are sets of house rollers on either end of the bridge. And here the men are working under the bridge and making final preparations to move the bridge sideways. And in this picture, you can see that there is a chain connecting one of the house rollers over to the man on the left. And he has a come-along. It's a ratcheted device, and he is going to ratchet that bridge in tandem with another man at the opposite end of the bridge. The two will work in sync and slowly inch that bridge sideways. And this is what the bridge looked like after the first day. They have it across the guardrail, and now the object is to lower the bridge into the abutments. And their first order of business is to jack the bridge up using hydraulic house jacks, and then remove the I-beams. And here you can see the hydraulic house jack. They're located on all four corners of the bridge. They have to be raised and lowered at the same time and by the same amount. And here they are in the process of removing the I-beams. Now that the I-beams have been removed, the object is to remove the cribbing. And that's done by alternately raising and lowering the bridge and removing a layer of cribbing, one layer at a time. So here the bridge has been jacked up and they've removed some cribbing. And now they've lowered the bridge, and at this point that you can see a good close-up of the hydraulic house jack. Now at this point they will raise the bridge again and remove the top level of cribbing. And then after removing the top level, they will lower the bridge once again and remove the iron bars that support the hydraulic house jack. They'll remove the iron bars and the house jack and place them on a lower level of cribbing, and keep doing that until the bridge is all the way down. And you can see here that the bridge is much lower. Now, is that bridge going to fit in the abutment? It looks awfully close. Well, they just barely made it. And this is just about as far down as they can take the bridge. And right there is the way they will leave it. They leave a little bit of airspace beneath the lower chords so that they don't sit on wet concrete, and that would hasten the decay of the wood. And this is what the little pedestrian bridge looks like today. So from Westford, we will move on to Cambridge Junction Bridge, built in 1887 in the town of Jeffersonville, and it spans the Lamoille River. And this bridge had deteriorated so badly that it had been closed to traffic for several years, and even pedestrians weren't allowed to cross it. But by 2004, the bridge had undergone a complete rehabilitation. This is Church Street Bridge in the town of Waterville. It was common in days of yore for young people to carve their initials or to write chalk messages in bridges. Some even became a running dialogue. For example, F. Brown, August 1892. I hugged Polly P. in this bridge. Polly's indignant retort, liar. F. Brown, did too. Polly, didn't. FB's a liar. F. Brown appears to have gotten the last word. Did too. How many of you have had an amorous adventure in a covered bridge? Let's see some hands. No one? Oh, come on now. Some of you have. Don't be afraid to raise your hand. I'm the only one who can see you, and I won't tell. Montgomery Bridge in Waterville is a very peaceful spot and a great place to drop in a line and try your luck. Comstock Bridge, built in 1883 in Montgomery, spans the Trout River. And Hectorville Bridge, built in 1883 in Montgomery, spans the south branch of the Trout River. Longley Bridge, built in 1863 in Montgomery, spans the Trout River. Note the missing siding. Kids kick out the siding and drop in a fishing line. They also crawl through the truss and jump into the swimming hole. But the missing siding causes the town lattice truss to be exposed to the weather, which the siding is designed to prevent. So, the selectmen order the siding to be replaced. The kids kick it out again. The siding is replaced again. The kids kick it out again. The siding is replaced again. And so it goes. Fisher Bridge in Wolcott spans the Lamoille River. Built in 1908 by the St. Johnsbury and Lamoille County Railroad, the bridge is one of two remaining covered bridges in the state of Vermont. It is the only one remaining with a full-length cupola, which provided a smoke escape. The Scribner Bridge is located in the town of Johnson. I mentioned earlier that many non-transportation activities took place in covered bridges. Amorous adventures were commonplace, so much so that many preachers referred to covered bridges as dens of sin. A typical escapade of a boy and girl called for the boy to park the family buggy in a bridge and spoon with his sweetheart. Another activity cited above was for boys to climb into the rafters. From there, they were free to spy on the lovebirds. When the young boys could no longer maintain their silence, they would taunt the lovers. Look at the lovebirds, kissy, kissy, mushy, mushy. The two young lovers would leave the bridge as quickly as possible and very embarrassed. Oftentimes, it didn't end there. If one of the bratty boys was the brother of the girlfriend, he might threaten to tell on her. If that frightened her, little brother might blackmail his sister into providing him with sweets. Once the young lady married, however, the extortion came to an end. Schoolhouse Bridge, built in 1879 in the town of Linden, spans the South Wheelock branch of the Passumpsic River. And Miller's Run Bridge was built in 1878 and rebuilt in 1995. And this is in Linden Center. And a nice little thing about this bridge is that there is a sidewalk which has its own little roof. Greenbank's Hollow Bridge, built in 1886, is in Danville. And the Hyde Bridge is in East Randolph. And the Scilly Bridge, built in 1883 in Tunbridge, spans the first branch of the White River. And Flint Bridge, built in 1845, is located in Tunbridge. A preacher took it upon himself to eradicate amorous behavior in the covered bridges of his town. One night, he walked into a bridge, torch in hand, and saw 2 buggies parked inside. The horses panicked at the sight of the flame, and they bolted, but the buggies locked wheels and couldn't move. The clergyman looked inside one buggy, saw his daughter and her date, and in the other, his son and his son's girlfriend. Well, I'll ask again. Let's have a show of hands. Who has had a romantic interlude in a covered bridge? You can admit it. At this late date, you won't have to fear being grounded. I'll tell you what, I'll see you after the program and we'll talk. It will be our little secret. We are in the town of Tunbridge, and you are looking at Mill Bridge. The 1883 bridge was destroyed on March 5th, 1999, when a sudden thaw sent tons of ice crashing over the mill dam, which you can see in the background. The ice piled up beneath the bridge and wrenched it off its abutments. The new mill bridge was built in 1999 and 2000. The 1883 bridge cost $532.93. Compare that with the $175,000 price tag for the new one. Mill Bridge was moved into place on July 3rd, 2000, and I was very thankful to be there to witness it. So how are we going to drag a 50-ton bridge across the river on highway I-beams? Well, we put a block and tackle on the bridge and another block and tackle across the river. And they connect them with heavy rope. In the foreground is a capstan, and it has a rope coiled around it, and then it has a bar extending from it. And then something or someone is going to turn that bar, which will turn the capstan, which will coil the rope around the capstan, pull the rope through the block and tackle, and hopefully pull the bridge across the river. And this is how we're going to turn the capstan. We get a local farmer to bring in teams of oxen. And these big boys are going to do the work. And as you see here, the bridge is beginning to move. Come on, fellas, keep turning. You can do it. And the bridge continues to move. Keep going, guys. At this point, the bridge has reached the halfway mark, and it's time for lunch, time to feed and water the oxen. This is a view from just upstream of the bridge, and you note on the left side there is a film crew. This bridge move attracted a lot of attention, and it seemed as though the whole town turned out to witness it. And here's a view from the other side of the river. And now it's back to work. And we're getting there. Not much farther to go. Keep turning, guys. You can do it. It's almost there. And this is a view of the bridge from the mill pond. And there it is, all the way across the river. In the next few weeks, the bridge would have to be jacked up so that the steel I-beams could be removed, because the multiple king post truss is entirely self-supporting. The siding would have to be completed, the deck has to be laid, and the inspectors from the Vermont Agency of Transportation have to come in and certify that the bridge is safe. And this is what the little bridge looks like today. So, in closing, what is a covered bridge? Aside from the timbers and a convenient way to cross a stream, it spans time. The covered bridge is a link to our past, a time when life seemed a bit slower. It brings people together by spanning generations. Many people bring their children and grandchildren back to see a favorite bridge from their childhood. The dusty, creaky old covered bridge where they fished or swam in its shade, took shelter from a sudden storm, or held hands and experienced their first kiss, is a vehicle for bringing back, sharing, and building new memories. Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for viewing my presentation, Life in the Slow Lane. I hope you have enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you.